Hello everyone, I am joined here by the founding videographer of Humber Esports, Harrison Smith, or as people online like to call him, Norm. So welcome Harry, thank you for doing this. Yeah, thanks Harry, I'm really excited to be part of this. I can tell, you're in Denmark right now? Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. Denmark's great. Man, hope you're having a great time over there seeing the sights. Yeah, thanks, I am. Anyways, sorry. I'm sorry. No, you go first. No, I insist. Okay. Wait. So who's going first? Me. You. All right. Nice. So Harry, would you be able to give us some basic information on yourself? Your name, program. Sure thing, Harry. So yeah, I'm going into my final semester of Humber's film and television production program. It's a 3-year program. And before I started this one, I did a year of Humber's 3D modeling and visual effects program. It was just the 1 year. I got the certificate. I don't think I'll be using it anytime soon though. But it was cool. But quickly after entering FMTV, I knew I had figured out where it is I want to be and what type of work I want to do. Yeah. All right, cool. So how did you find yourself being part of Humber Esports? Yeah, so actually when I was in 3DFX, there were some different video game clubs Humber had, like Overwatch and League of Legends, I think. And so in the fall of 2018, the League Discord server held a World's Watch Party, which I attended. And I met some people like Willem, Jeff, and I think Kevin was there. So that's when I first actually met them in person, but it wasn't until a year afterwards in fall 2019 where I joined Humber Esports themselves. So it wasn't like a cold call or anything. They kind of knew about you? To an extent, I'd say. Like, yeah, I had poked my head in a few times, but I didn't really, know them, Okay, so you're going to answer my question? Yeah. So leading up to this moment, my hobby has always involved playing video games with friends, but then also kind of always recording my gameplay and saving, sorting, archiving, some of my favorite moments. Favorite memories, with my friends, big fails, bloopers, big hype moments, right? So in fall 2019, first year of FMTV in the Humber Esports Discord server, I just sort of put it out there that hey, I like video games. I'm looking for just any opportunity, really. Here's an example of montages I've edited with my gameplay clips. And yeah, I just sort of threw it out there. But then at this point, working alongside Kevin and Jeff was this esports director named Jackie. And Jackie was the one that took a look at my YouTube channel and thought, hey, this is great. How would you like to come do this for Humber Esports? And I was like, yeah, that's great. So I did the interview paperwork process with Kevin, and then, yeah, that's how I joined. And this is all brand new information to me. That's crazy. So did you have any nerves? Not necessarily. I knew that when it came to the workflow that I was comfortable with it, because I had already been doing it for myself for a few years leading up to then, right? But what did catch me a bit off guard was about a week or so afterwards, we had this town hall meeting in person. And it was like this big orientation for the players and coaches to come in, get introduced to the whole department by Kevin, Jeff, and Jackie. Here's what we expect from you. Here's what you can expect from us. But what I wasn't really prepared for was actually going up in front of this crowd of people and talking for a little bit. I didn't have anything prepared. I just said send me clips of you dunking on kids and I'll make sure people can see it. So were you the only one doing media related things at the time? For a little bit, yeah, I was the only one there. So no one was really telling me what to do or anything. So the approach I took was just to keep compiling highlights of the players for safekeeping so that if we ever do any sorts of edits or features or anything, there's a nice collection of in-game footage we can use. And it's helpful because if other people come on to help us, they don't have to try to sift through hours upon hours of game footage themselves. It's just all right there and they can go right to work. Or it would be really easy for me to send them what they need. And at the same time, just to make something that's easy to pass down from one person to the next, because, one day I'm going to graduate and then it won't be in my best interest to pursue this project anymore, right? So at the time, what I ended up doing was weekly top 10s, just figuring that I wanted to make something that can be easily digested by the players, but also by other Humber students from the outside looking in, So I know a lot of features, etc. They have less. If you look at what other esports organizations do, they have a lot of shots of the players actually playing, sitting at the monitor, in the zone and everything. But at least for me, especially because I've always specialized in post-picture, post-sound editing, it was easier for me, but I also figured that what might get more people involved in esports is what actually happens in the game, right? So yeah. So I guess eventually someone named Wiki came in and helped you out, right? Well, yeah, so Wiki was great. He was a player for Humber's CSGO team, but he was also interested in the media side of things. So he took care of everything CSGO for me. And then on some weeks, he would edit the top 10s for me if I was like too busy, if I was filming a project or something. So I guess he was a huge help then, right? Yeah, 100%. There's actually a funny story with him though, where when we first met in person, esports and gaming and everything, it's all online, right? So there was just this time where, as part of Wiki coming on, or maybe it was something else, I'm not certain. But regardless, the two of us were meeting at Kevin's office to discuss something. And so I got there, and there was another guy standing there, I think. I can't remember which of us were actually there first, but we were actually standing next to each other for a little bit, just sort of looking around, looking at our phones before finally messaging each other like, okay, I'm here. And then we both looked up and we were like, oh, hey, I'm Norm, or hey, I'm Wiki. Oh, that's a fun little story. That's my first time hearing about it. That's funny. Yeah, thanks. So how would you say things have evolved between your first and third year? Things definitely changed a lot. On a lot of ends for different reasons, obviously also because of COVID, but like, in the past, we've had third year film students temporarily come on and do work with us for their work placement hours. We've also had a couple of volunteers come in and help around. On top of the actual direct impacts to Humber Esports as a whole, there were actually definitely things that I learned in my program that helped carry over into the work that I do for Humber. Adam or Snow Pirate joining was definitely one of the biggest pluses to have ever happen to Humber College Esports Media, because, I'm building this database to be able to look around and hand off to the next person, right? But it was really only built around me being the one person accessing it. So I remember trying to explain it to Adam, and it was a little bit too convoluted, admittedly, for what we needed. So Adam actually kind of just completely changed the game with his proposals and ideas. So now in the end, we have something that's very easy for the both of us to work on at the same time. We can send Premiere projects back and forth to each other. We always have the same VODs, mostly labeled the same way, but like it's the same VOD. It's got the same length and everything. So we download the VODs onto our end, but we send each other Premiere projects back and forth. Very easy relinking, hand off one project to the other, very easy. And it's just great to navigate around, like, especially after dealing with FMTV for a couple years, you start to learn that a lot of the work in this field is referred to as assistant editing and not just being a videographer or video editor. So just understanding that helps you in that mindset. And, between first and third year, I definitely feel like, when I do a lot of this work, I'm operating with a little bit more purpose. And that's because there's more clarity as to what I'm doing and why. I see. So does that mean that anyone that wants to help can expect to be an assistant editor? To an extent, yes. It also just depends on like who else is there at the time, and who's working on what, right? Like I have this mindset where like what you put into it is what you get out of it. So I don't necessarily like to try to micromanage anyone because, I don't get paid to do it. That's not my official job title, and I have my own program to deal with. So like for me personally, I just do pretty much whatever I want, knowing that what I'm working on are things that I'll want to show on my portfolio or in demo reels or resumes, right? After I graduate, because that's what this platform is all about. Students are free to just work exclusively on the type of stuff that they want to work on, that they feel will advance their careers, and I enjoy being an assistant editor or someone that, looks over this database and can send people what they want and need. But then also at the same time, for example, in the past, we've had Jason from our Rainbow Six team do some features with us. And he was more of a director editor. He conducted his own interviews with players and then edited features based around those interviews. But then Adam and I would send him clips of that player. So, we were the assistant editors while Jason was, as I said, the director editor of those projects. He came on, he did work with Humber Esports. He never did any of that sort of assistant editor work, but like, that's what he got out of it. That's just how it ended up going down. But like, I'm going to graduate in April, presumably, and Adam is presumably graduating the year afterwards. So unless other people join and take on that responsibility, then there will be this kind of gap that future videographers, editors, whatever, will kind of have to work around. And you'll learn fairly quickly that it's important and is most ideal if everyone's kind of chipping away at it a little bit, so that, there's less assistant editing to do and more actual content to be made. You can live without that back end process, but you'll find that it helps a ton in the long run. Okay, so I guess it sounds like Humber Esports is a bit of a startup then? Yeah, you can say that. So there's a lot of paperwork to do and only so many people available to work on certain things, right? So when you come on, you might have one specific goal in mind. You might want to just be a picture editor or sound guy or, whatever. But then you'll find that there's a lot of hats to be worn, and you'll find yourself having to kind of swap the hats around for the sake of everything kind of still progressing, in a good way, right? But that being said, there's always opportunities for people. All right. So outside of the assistant editing realm, would you be able to talk to me about past, previous, future projects? Yeah, absolutely. So in first year, I've touched on the weekly top 10s. Now, what we've also done is like top 50s or top 25s of certain games at the end of each semester. Those are nice to reflect on. And it's fun to be in a call with, like Wiki and Adam, maybe a coach or two, all weighing in on the plays and analyzing them to see what truly is number one, etc. Right? Like, we've done goodbye videos for players after they've left, most notably coaches or captains that, really left a huge mark in their respective teams. Second year, we moved away from top 10s and instead did the series called Hawk Watch, which was just kind of like bi-weekly-ish, compilations of just our players, making plays, right? And then this year, we've done a different take on Hawk Watch, which is like a weekly recap thing where we just kind of highlight what the players are doing. We go over some of their highlights and commentate over them. But then, explain what's going on. We discuss their match results, amongst other things. And there's also 3 bigger projects that we have currently in the works, but it's too early for me to say anything about those right now. That's really cool. So what would you say are your biggest takeaways from this experience? Well, it's been really cool to learn about the different game titles we support. Like, I came on really only being big on League of Legends and Overwatch, but being able to actually, get to actually know the strategies and tension behind games such as, Call of Duty, Rainbow Six, CSGO, Rocket League, Smash Brothers, Shadowverse, and maybe a game or two I'm forgetting. Like, it's all just really fascinating and shows that there's always something for everyone, I think, when it comes to esports. But at the same time, I've loved being able to just kind of hone my skills and experiment with different workflows and projects just to kind of see what I enjoy doing as an editor or what other techniques are out there. I've been able to play around in After Effects with purpose and learn a bit about editing motion graphic templates, which I've never done in my program, right? And so it's all pretty cool. But I think my biggest takeaway from this is, I think, just the satisfaction that I was able to build something in my time here that can maybe hopefully carry on through Humber for the rest of time. What is it about esports that makes you keep coming back? Well, I think it's just cool. Like big tournaments especially are always hype. Just seeing a tournament, and instead of seeing a 5 versus 5 match, instead you see 10 unique individuals, all with their own personal backstories and skill sets, varying levels of experience, veterans, rookies, the whole 9 yards, right? All competing and trying to execute the best strategy possible to prove that they're the better team. And it always evolves too, right? Just like real sports. Like, I know there's a whole discussion on if esports are a sport, but I think that, like, what can't be disputed is just that what sports and esports share in common is just that they're competition, right? And competition is fun to be around and it's fun to watch. Like, really quickly, for example, Counter-Strike, you look at a game like Counter-Strike and you think it's all about just shooting people. But when you watch a match, shooting is really only about 5% of what goes on. The other 95% is people taking into consideration, like, where other opponents might be, how they're going to use their grenades to set up plays, the general economy of the players, how much money do they have in game to put towards utility so that they can gain these small advantages on the map so that they have better chances of winning the match and then the game in the long haul, right? How they all form up, it's all really cool stuff. And especially when you grow up playing video games, at some point or another, you start to gravitate or at least pay a little bit of attention to, what the pros are doing, so it's all just really cool, honestly. Any shout outs you'd like to give? My first shout out's definitely got to be to my boy Adam, who's made life 10 times easier just by being present. Like, he's a really smart dude that works very hard and, he's here for all the right reasons, right? He doesn't always give himself the credit he deserves, but that's just because he's not one to ever try to boast or brag about anything. It's one of his best qualities. He's just a really nice and humble dude that understands there's always something to learn and never lets it get to his head. Obviously, I got to give a big shout out to Wiki as well for his time doing video work. He's actually decided that he enjoys graphic design better, so he's been doing that for us for the past couple of years. But he's just one of those long-standing dudes that you get really comfortable working with. Definitely got to give a shout out to my girl Monica as well. She's a social media person for Humber College Esports. Every upload I've ever done or been a part of, she's been there to help with like the coordination and such. And so like she's witnessed the evolution of all of this, right, too. And actually, Monica, we actually joined at the same time. So we had the shared experience of like signing up and then suddenly just like talking in front of like a big crowd of people at the town hall, right? Without really having much prepared. But she's also just a fantastic friend outside of the business too, right? And yeah, and definitely to Kevin, Jackie, and Jeff, for their roles played in administration, both before my arrival here, as well as the work they've done during my tenure here. Like, I know it's just Kevin right now, but, I think they've all really helped legitimize a lot of what we do here, like, especially in a newer industry like esports, like any business person or videographer can be on board and help out, right? But it really helps when the people that you're working with are all people that are passionate about the business and its development, right? And so, yeah, they really helped pave a way. And I hope that the work that I've done here lives up to their hopes and standards for what they expect from a media team and what Humber can expect from a media team going forward. Well, that is all simply fantastic. Thank you for this interview, Harry. Good luck with your program. Thanks, Harry. Good luck in your program, too. Yeah, thanks, Harry. Anytime, Harry. Cool. See you, Harry. See you, Harry.